And part two with Peter Kannan, which was going great gustos there. I'm just still fascinated that you have retired, for instance, when you seem so energised still. What made you decide to stand down?
I decided to stand down because I thought it might make things move on better. There were other reasons as well. But the thing is that I am retired, and I'm quite happy with being retired. I just wish that we got the infrastructures, because the island is a beautiful place. We are blessed to live in the Isle of Man. You know, the situation is we're big enough to be a nation, yet small enough that everyone is important. That was one of my strap lines of one of my numerous election campaigns. And I still feel that we can't free the Tibetans, or we can't feed all the Sudan people. But what we can do is show how it can work for the common good. And it's not happening. That's the problem. And it's not happening because what we've got is this cronyism, this way of doing things. And one of the things I tried to do for the media when I was on the CPA, before I left the CPA, which is the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, I was instrumental in pushing one of your media colleagues into trying to get journalists to go to third world countries, to go to other countries, to actually experience the importance of good, robust audit as far as the media is concerned. And that's something that's been abysmally lacking. Now, I understand you're on your own, mate. and I basically think the media has got a difficult job because it's expensive. That's why when I tried to get them to give more money to Manx Radio, I wanted it to be more like Radio 4, not for all these managers and all these expensive vanity situations. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because of the bad political process.
Let's just talk about the media then. You've had a swipe right at the beginning, and I kept my mouth shut on that one because you said you never got properly talked to or interviewed, and whatever was silent. I've never had you. I do rely on people who wanted to come and talk to us, and I don't think you really ever showed any interest. And you've been blaming the whole thing as well. But do you really think
you've more likely got a guilty conscience now, Paul? Because the fact is, what I wanted to do was create a proper opposition. Yeah. And the proper opposition starved the media thing.
Do you think you were cut out?
Oh, absolutely, no doubt about it. I mean, you never brought any balance into a lot. The only time I was invited on, and I used to comment about, you always voted against everything. That's nonsense. Go and look at the Tynwald. Many of the things and some of the disasters that happened, we went along with. There's none of us are perfect. But what we shouldn't be doing is turn it into an art form in order to become a successful politician. And that's what's happened over the last 15 years.
I mean, and what about these days now? You can bypass the media and just do everything on your...
you can, but I mean, I know that people think I was a whiz kid on computers, but I can assure you, my little nephew is far better at the computer than ever I am. I mean, I am getting a little bit better, as you say, begging to share.
You need to update your website because it's still out of date.
Well, no, it's not my website.
Well, the party's website.
The Liberal Vannon Party...
It's got Julie Edge on it still. So.
The Liberal Vannon Party is about its members. What we were on about is bringing politics back to the people. Okay. I want to see proper, honest party politics on this island. And that's why I would be supporting parties over independence.
You seriously think that's going to happen? I mean, you had 3 members down to 2 now, and that's it. I mean,
it's not easy. But let's be honest about it. When people started on about a health service, I was brought up in a council house. 50 years earlier, that would have more likely be seen as very difficult to do. My father lived on 4 and 6 worth of relief tickets before the war. 5 of them to keep them for a fortnight. That's 22.5 pence to use youngsters. Now the point is, we've come a long way. The problem we've got today is that if we don't get organised, what we're going to end is, and we're seeing the drift between the haves and the have-nots. And the celebration of any society should be on how we look after the weakest. That means the elderly, the young, and the sick.
Would you have everything nationalised?
No, I wouldn't.
I mean,
I'd be honest with you. I wouldn't. I mean, I remember I fought an election with Richard Leventhorpe. I told them I wouldn't let them nationalise the steam packet because we'd end up with one-legged grannies going for free on the boats 3 months before an election. But what I would do is I would corporatise lots of these things, like I put in the original Liberal Vannon Party manifesto, where these utilities should be owned by people who are Manx domiciled on the island, where the government owns the Articles of Association shares, so that they can't change the shares, but you can't own more as an individual than maybe 0.5%.
What about the gas situation? What would you do there?
Well, I think the gas situation is horrendous. What's happened in the past?
What would you have it? Corporatisation, nationalisation? What would you call it?
Well, it should be owned on the island. But it shouldn't be allowed to be like it used to be under the old mafia, where you had 80% of the wealth of the island owned by about 15% of the people.
Right. Let's talk about, is there any positives? I'm going to go back to what we're here to review the year. I mean, let's talk about, obviously, the political side of it. Is there positives you can see the way forward? Because it's been a happier house, hasn't it?
I think they're less childish. I mean, I doubt they'll be seeing members being told that they'll be getting their effing house taken off them and you'll never get anything in your name. That hopefully they've rised above that.
And you see,
but I'm concerned that they haven't got the equipment. At the moment, I think the chief executives are making the agenda. The cuts, there has to be cuts. No one's denying there's got to be cuts. You can't spend money you haven't got. But what you should be doing is prioritising it, and prioritising in the right way as far as it's concerned. There are a number of issues that I would love to see, but I was never in a position politically to do it. And when I was, with the likes of the Department of Education, I mean, then they held back on the voucher scheme for the kids. To have a go at me, which was pathetic, really. But that's the way it went.
We've been televising a bit of the Question Time. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't, to be honest. With you.
I thought. Do you think that makes a change? That to see the politicians in action.
Well, I have to be honest with you. There was one thing that I originally was against. I was against broadcasting.
Oh, right. In sound or vision? Sound.
Originally, I was one of the ones who was against it.
Right.
Best thing that ever happened, to be honest with you. But I so this idea that no politician is fail-safe. We all make mistakes. But the point is, what we've got to do is we've got to get away from this situation where everybody is doing their sloomer hidden bit. Right. As far as that's concerned.
Any future for Peter Kannan politically? MLC job or something like that? I know I shouldn't even say it. But I don't have to ask you just to see your reaction in your face.
Do you honestly think they want me as an MLC?
Not for me to say, is it?
No, let's be perfect.
Would you want to?
If I could have been an MLC, I could have been an MLC 20 odd years ago. I was entitled to it before George Waft. And when did George get it? Wafty get it? Right. So, the point is that I knew that ever I went to the upper house, I was there for 5 years because I'd never get re-elected. Because the situation was that I wanted to leave in 91 and it took me to the last election to do it. Obviously, I care passionately. There are issues that should be addressed. I just wish that there was an open door for everybody. Because not just me, there's lots of people out there that could do a tremendous lot of good for this island who are being ignored.
Thank you for joining us. We'll leave that. And my door is always open, by the way. We don't edit, and he didn't say anything that got me in trouble, as far as I'm aware. There, thank you. But I still feel that there's so much passion in there that it's being almost put to one side, and I think we should watch this space. But I think there might be a return in some way. Yes.
Well, we'll wait and see. But the point is, what is important is that I do hope that some of them just take on board some of the points that I brought. I understand it's not easy being in government. There's hard decisions. I sat under siege on issues like gay rights, hanging, rehabilitation of offenders. But you will find that a lot of working people and professional people particularly, who will say, well, at least you're honest, you're addressing the issues. you're not always going to... Some of my best political friends in the House of Keys were never my political persuasion. But I'd rather have some honesty, and I just hope that this administration bears in mind what needs to be done.